Bel bonsoir tout le monde. Moi c'est Simone Matthew. Nous c'est Moon KEK Committee pour Études Créole. Nous venons dire belle bonne Noël, belle bonne nouvelle. Nous venons dire belle bonne nouvelle. Quand ça qui a passé avec KEK, vini pour nous parler. Quand ou ka vini, pas oublier pour séparer live ça là, pas oublier pour séparer programme ça là, parce que nous voulons all monde voir programme ça là. So again, good evening everyone. I am Simone Matthew and we are KEK, the Committee for Creole Education in Dominica, and we have some wonderful news to share with you. So come on in. Come on in. As you come in, don't forget to share the live. Let everyone know that we are here. We have great news to share. And happy Christmas. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to everyone who's joining us. Don't forget to share the live as you're coming in. If this is your first time on Push Past 10, Push Past 10 is dedicated towards advancing the lives of Dominicans and Caribbean people around the world, as well as sharing the uniqueness and the beauty of our island. So we're so happy that you're joining us this evening, this being the week of Christmas. Of course, it is a great time to share some great news. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in the other members of KEK who are joining us this evening. We may want to mute our mics because I can hear some feedback in the background. So if you have something else playing, you may want to turn it down, but we are very happy to be here to present our new publication, which is now available on Amazon.com. And this is a big deal for KEK because this is the first time that we have a publication that folks can order online. So we are here to tell you all about Anu Apon Creole, publication of the Committee pour Études Créole from Dominica, and we are joined by the president of KEK, Mr. Raymond Lawrence. We are also joined by the authors of the book, the people responsible for putting this important publication together. So we have Mrs. Sonia Magloire-Akpa, we have Mrs. Charlene White-Christian, and we also have Miss Magali Celestine. So we are very happy that they're joining them, and we're going to have them introduce themselves. Of course, we will start with the president, Mr. Raymond Lawrence, while I go ahead and share the live and let everyone know that we're here. So Mr. Lawrence, welcome to the program. You're muted.
Yeah, thank you very much, Simone Matthew. And let me say good evening to you. Good evening to my fellow panelists, Sharon, Magali, and Sonia Akpa. And of course, I say good evening to viewers, listeners to this program. Thank you very much, Simone, for inviting us, KEK, to be part of this program. And of course, we thank God that we have hit yet another milestone, which is really to get the publication, which we launched earlier this year, incidentally. And we launched it with a hard copy at the time on the 1st of June, but to get it now available on Amazon. That's a major achievement for us. We've been striving towards it, talking about it, working towards it for a while now, and thank God it has actually happened. And Simone, you played a very key role, a very instrumental role in helping to get the book available on Amazon, so we're very grateful to you as well. I want to thank the authors. Of course, without them, the book would not have been possible, and they're here with, all three of them are here with us tonight. Sonia Akpa, Charlene White-Christian, and Magali Celestine. I want to, on behalf of KEK, to thank them again for the tremendous work and effort that they put into helping make this book become a reality. And then, of course, we thank the main funding agency of the book, which is the French Embassy in St. Lucia. We are very grateful to them for the funds that they provided to help to make this book possible. The authors, and when they're questioned and when they come in, they will give a lot of the details of the book itself and the contents of the book. But of course, it's a basic guide to Creole, and has about 17 modules on various topics that they will expand on. But Simon, we are very, very grateful for the fact that this has come on stream. It's not the first publication of KEK. The first publication on KEK to be available on Amazon, but in
Yes,
terms of
Amazon.
publications, we have had a number of publications, including the first dictionary, the first Creole dictionary produced in Dominica was produced by KEK in the late 1980s. Then later on, Marcel Jamal Lafontaine, who was originally part of that team to create, he went on to create, using KEK's contents as well and his own, to create a second Creole dictionary. And then now we're working on a third Creole dictionary. But in terms of what we have produced, KEK was able to produce that first Creole dictionary. We had produced something called Powell Creole, which is a book containing over 500 proverbs. There's another one, Mi Bredex, a book containing several Creole expressions. There is Tim Tim Glodo Boot, which contains several Dominican Tim Tim expressions. Tilistwe, which features some of Dominica's folk stories. And we also produced a book of contes of Lawrence Brumant, and we have the Creole version and the English translations as well. Um, so this one is another one in the series of publications that KEK has been able to produce, but it is a very important and significant publication because it's geared at schools, and not just at schools, but the general public. And that's the good news, Simone, that it's not just
Mhm.
for schools. It's for anyone basically who would want to learn to speak Creole, especially persons who don't know how to speak it. They're just starting. They want an introductory type of book to the language. That book will serve them very, very well. So, Simon, thanks again for inviting us tonight. And we are very um, elated and excited about the fact that we have been able to produce this book, and it will now be available to the public online on Amazon. People can just go onto Amazon and purchase a copy of the book. So we're happy about that availability online.
Yes, and thank you, Raymond. I just shared the live to a number of different platforms. So hopefully we are getting the word out, and we're also hoping to do other media drives as well to get the word out. So like you mentioned, of course, it's not the first publication of KEK, but it's the first publication to be made available on Amazon.com for purchase. And like I always say, we each have a role to play. We each have a role to play in our organization. So I'm more than happy to play the role of getting this stuff onto Amazon. And I'm happy that we have the authors of the book. So we're going to delve into what exactly is contained in the book and how did we decide on what to put in the book. But for now, let us go ahead and continue the introductions. And I want to welcome everybody who's joining us on the Facebook Live so far. I'm seeing Davidson Lloyd. I'm seeing our friend David out in Louisiana. And I have to tell you, David is a very special friend of Dominica's Creole. He was actually the very first person to buy a copy of the book online on Amazon, and he sends me a picture. So, David, we are grateful for your support and thank you for being here as always. So, Charlene, let's continue with the introductions. Tell us a little bit about you and your role in KEK.
Okay, well, good evening to everyone listening, both here in Dominica and around the world. I am Charlene White Christian, and I have been a member of KEK for a very long time, since around 2000. And presently, I serve as the treasurer of the committee Poetud Creole, and I've been I'm an enthusiast as it relates to languages. I'm a linguist by profession, and Creole has always been my passion. I was actually first introduced to KEK by Raymond many moons ago, And I just fell in love with the committee and the work that the committee has been doing. And to date, I have been so encouraged, especially by people like Mrs. Akpa, Sonia Akpa, who is one of my role models. And I just felt that having Creole as one of our main subjects taught at our schools, primary and secondary schools, is something that we had to strive for and something that we had to ensure that was done. So, a few years ago, as the modern languages coordinator within the Ministry of Education, which is my primary position, I decided to work along with KEK and the Ministry of Education to ensure that Creole was taught. So we had a pilot program which was started over 8 years ago in the primary schools, and we've kicked off from then. And it is because of this that we realized that we needed something so that the students could use as a resource, as well as teachers could use as a resource in the primary schools. So this is one of the reasons we came together to create the text that we have now, or the book that we have now, Anu Apwan Creole.
Yes, thank you for that. And let's just continue going around the table. Magali, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Simone, for having us. Good evening, Dominicans and all those viewing online. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. And I too, I am an educator. I'm interested in developing the language, the Creole language. Um, I am very happy to work alongside with Charlene and Mrs. Akpa and Raymond steering the boat for us. It has been a fun ride, honestly, having to put all of those ideas together, because the thing is, we realize some of our young people, we do not want to lose the language, and our young people really need to have that, to grow up with it, to lay that foundation. And what is the best way to have that is to prepare materials, resource materials, to teach the language, make it alive and well, Dominica, so that our young people can embrace that rich heritage and culture and pass it on from one generation to the next. So I'm happy to be a part of this project. It has been tedious, but we reap the benefits in the end. We are so happy that our work is now placed on Amazon so that the entire world can have it at their fingertips and they can use it. It's a text that can be self-tutored, as well as you can work in a group setting. We've made it as simple as possible. We've broken down the information so that a real beginner can just pick it up and learn from there. Whatever stage you are at in the language, it can be beneficial to you as well. So we just hope that the general public will embrace that text and use it so that our culture can live on, the language can remain alive and well, and we can continue to speak our mother tongue. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Mrs. Akpa, over to you.
Ok, bonsoir tout mam kek, bonsoir Simone, bonsoir tout moun ki ka koute nou, ki ka gade nou answaya moun bien konta, che mwen a plas, pi sa se un mouman ki bien spesyal pou kek. Non, mwen se Sonia Maglo Akpa, mwen se a linguist, and I will continue in English because I know there are some people listening who may not understand Creole. Although I worked in the field of international relations and diplomacy for many, many years, my passion was always linguistics. I'm a linguist by profession. I've been a member of KEK for over 40 years. And so a lot of the publications that Raymond spoke about, I worked on some of those publications. It has been an absolute pleasure for me to work on Anuapuan Creole. Magali, it was really a great team effort. We got together, we discussed the modules that we wanted to include in the publication, how we were going to deal with each module. And it was a lot of work, long nights. Magali, remember, sometimes we worked until midnight trying to get this book done. But it is here, and so I am elated. I also teach the Creole language. I've taught at Alliance Française. I've taught short Creole courses at the University of the West Indies. I've taught the Peace Corps program, and also privately. I do private classes as well. So this is an excellent tool for teachers as well as for learners. And although we did it in such a way that it can be used in the classroom, it is for anyone who wants to learn basic Creole. And it is well put together. It is beautiful. It is easy to use. And what is really great about that publication is that it includes a lot of information on Dominica's culture. Because as pou moun ki vle konet kouman moun ka viv Dominique, festival nou carnaval ou ben indépendance, tout se bagay sa la, adan liv sa la. We have the modules, but we also have little sections on Dominica's culture, cuisine, dress, our way of life, our festivals. So it is really, really a great moment for us and for KEK.
And it almost sounds like it's a celebration of Dominica.
Yes, indeed. Indeed it is.
Yes, and you know, we reach a worldwide audience here on Push Past 10 and the other platforms that we share to. So let us just spend a couple of minutes talking about what is KEK, because I think many of us take it for granted that we know what KEK is, but what is KEK? What is the purpose of KEK? So let us just, before we dive into the book, remind the audience of what is KEK, KEK's purpose, and some of the accomplishments we have achieved over the years to date. So anybody can feel free to jump in.
Raymond, you want to take the lead on this?
Yeah. Well, if KEK was created in 1981, so which means KEK this year is celebrating its 42nd anniversary. And the main mandate of KEK is to help to preserve and to promote, to do research, and to document the language. That's the foremost sort of aim and objective. However, KEK also has promoted other aspects of the Creole culture as well, along with the Creole language, because in a sense they're all related. It's all part of the Creole heritage and culture of Dominica. And as such, sometimes when you're promoting one, you end up promoting the Creole ware, the food. I mean, if you look at the book, it has, it has aspects of Dominica's culture, as Sonia mentioned, different aspects of, Dominica's culture. But the main aim and objective of KEK would be the Creole language. And then it started off, of course, with the initiative of the Cultural Division, which was headed by Orwin Bully at the time. He was Chief Cultural Officer at the time. And KEK in those years had to initiate activities like Creole Day, which has become a major event during the independence celebrations, and also Heritage Day, which has also become another important part of our independence celebrations. And the idea now of those 2 days, briefly, were, among other things, again, to promote the Creole language. Creole Day was meant actually to more speaking of the language on that day, but also to celebrate other aspects of the culture and heritage, which I mentioned. The same for Heritage Day. While it was focused on one particular community and highlights one community in Dominica, but at the same time it promotes the language of that community, where it promotes Creole language especially, and the characteristics and the whatever the people produce in that area, because there's an exhibition element, there's a gala element where people do performances, and in the morning there's a Creole mass, and most of the service, the religious service, is in the Creole language. The songs are sung, the preach in Creole, the preacher preaches in Creole, all of that. In addition to those activities through the years, KEK has produced a number of publications, which I mentioned, which have been very, very helpful. In fact, we've run out of copies of those um, those book publications through the years. Now we are into another project now, trying to look at reprinting some of those publications they have produced before, because we've run out of copies of them. And of course, this latest publication, Anuapan Creole, is another part of KEK's work. In addition to that, we have introduced activities like a Creole Spelling Bee for primary schools, which is now into its 14th year. It has been very successful, again, to promote Creole in the schools, and Charlene and the others mentioned that. We have introduced a secondary school choral speaking competition for secondary schools, again, using the Creole language. That is another event of KEK. KEK has been able to represent Dominica at various regional and international meetings on the Creole language. And right now, among other projects that we're working on, we are developing a Creole language policy, which at the end of it will help to give guidance or further guidance to the development of the language as we move along. We're also looking at other publications, which would include the new Creole dictionary that we're hoping would be launched soon, and that would be another great project that we want to see happen for us, along with helping to just promote the Creole language on the media. For instance, we have a program called Mo Creole on a Creole program on the national radio station, Experience Creole, but KEK does a Mo Creole, so we present a Creole word every day, well, Monday to Friday, and we give the meaning, we put it in a context, in a sentence, and so these are just some of the, of course, we do other activities as well, other events and programs, but these are just some of the activities that we've done through the years. And earlier this year, we celebrated our 42nd anniversary, and that's where we did the official launch on the 1st of June of the Anuapan Creole. We also launched a Creole magazine as well, that we want to say that's up for sale locally at Jay's Limited. We're hoping soon enough we'll be able to get it on Amazon as well. That magazine has several articles on different aspects of Dominica's culture, including the language. And then we were able to launch as well a documentary which sort of looked at the Creole language development in various aspects of education in Dominica. We already had done one on the Creole language in the Kalinago, within the Kalinago space, Kalinago culture, Kalinago heritage. So we've been involved in a number of various activities, all geared towards mainly promoting the language, preserving the language, but as I said, promoting other aspects of Dominica's Creole culture as well.
Yes, thank you for that, Raymond. And I think, I want everybody else on the panel to share as well. But I think we also have to look at it in terms of promoting, preserving, advancing Creole, because what we are seeing in Dominica, and I think other people from other Creole speaking countries might be experiencing the same thing, is that a lot of the adults speak Creole and they speak it when they don't want the children to understand, which is how I grew up. Parce que moi c'est un moun ja rozo yo kadi moun rozo pasa parler Creole. Parce que les mots piti, maman mote ka parle Creole, mais pas te ka di moins called Creole. So what I'm saying is that, and I want us to go back and forth with the Creole like Sonia did, because I think it's important to also speak our language on this program as well. So I think what we had is a situation where a lot of our elderly folks, our older folks know the language, but it will eventually die if we do not grab opportunities to pass it on to our children. So we have to really take a broader look at the important work that KEK is doing, especially when Charlene talks about bringing it to the schools. But this is yet another opportunity via social media to bring the Creole to the younger generation so that they too might embrace the language and so we can continue the language, because we all know that Creole stems from our ancestors who were enslaved, who created a language to speak amongst themselves that their masters could not understand. So it would be a sad shame if we allow Creole to die. So we cannot underestimate the power of KEK, the role that KEK is playing to ensure that that doesn't happen. So I want to give everybody else an opportunity to chime in any thoughts they would like to share at this point.
But if I may also, just to add to what Raymond said, I think a lot of Dominicans themselves don't really realize the importance of KEK and what KEK has done as it relates to the promotion of the Creole language. Like I said to some people, I had to actually be at university to actually find out that KEK was actually the association or the organization who created the International Creole Day. A
Yes.
lot of Dominicans don't know that. They just see, okay, there's Journée Creole, but they don't realize that is an initiative of KEK, and right now it's a worldwide day. So many of them don't know that. Many of them, like Raymond said, don't actually know that KEK was the one who initiated Heritage Day and all of those things, you know. So I think it's important that not only we know about our language, but we also know about the groups and the persons who have contributed towards the promotion of that language and that culture, because it's very, very important. And the book itself, going back to the book, it lends itself to some of that information. All right. So I just wanted to share just at least just that little part, because you know that Creole Day since 1986, you know, when it was started, that first Creole Day 1986, a lot of people just don't know. So I think it's an opportunity for us as Dominicans to learn a little bit more about our culture, learn a little bit more about our language, and as it relates to even the writing of our language. I am hoping that with the work that we are doing in KEK, that persons would realize that there is an actual writing system for the Creole language. It's not just writing anyhow, because many times you see people write the Creole language and they spell it how they figure it should be spelled, even in our high offices right here in Dominica. So I'm hoping that with the work that KEK is doing, that a little more attention will be played towards, you know, the correct writing of the language, the correct pronunciation of the language, the way that the language is used, and that the language will be given some more mileage as it relates to in our offices, in our parliament. You
Mhm.
know, we have to look towards, you know, towards those things, because we will lose the language, and KEK cannot do it alone.
Absolutely. Magali, Sonia, any thoughts you want to share at this point before we dive into the book?
Yes, what I would like to add, Simone, is that we've come a long way, you know, and KEK has been really at the forefront in terms of standardizing the Creole language, you know, and changing the negative attitudes. Because as you said, a lot of people were not comfortable speaking Creole and still aren't. I mean, in ki yo sa pale Creole, yo connaît Creole, mais yo pas confortable. Yo pay pale Creole. And that's because we're not using the language enough. In the rural areas, I must say, I mean, when I hear young people speaking Creole, moun ka pale Creole, go an bi because place kon sa, mais en ozo, pa ka jetan li. Mais avec tous ces Haïtiens nous ni en Dominique actuellement, ça c'est une opportunité pour nous parler plus. Puis c'est Creole nous ka parler. Les moi aller la place, moi ka parler bayou. Moi ka parler Creole. Comme ça c'est une manière nous ça parler plus Creole. But just to go back again to the work of KEK, and I have to mention people like Jamala Fountain and Felix Henderson and Gregory Rabes, you know, and all the other members of KEK who have been working really hard to promote and preserve the Creole language, who have worked with the radio stations, especially DBS Radio. I have to mention DBS Radio as one of the institutions that really helped to elevate the Creole language with all the various programs that they've had on Creole. I remember in the very early days in the 80s, we had spelling competitions on DBS Radio, and it was amazing. The people who were calling from the rural areas, they could spell perfectly once the writing system was explained to them. So it's not just KEK, it's KEK working with the media, it's KEK working with artists like all the artists who did the Cadas songs like Ophelia, Olivache Marie and Gordon Henderson, and all the bands that came up in the 70s using Creole in the music. That itself was significant. So I think it's just we just need to continue working. We just need to continue researching and continue working together as a team who seek lang Creole.
Yeah, and I'm coming to you, Magali, but Charlene, you're so correct when you say we also have to speak on the writing of Creole, because have you noticed how many different ways you see Bonjour Creole?
Yeah.
I mean, on Creole Day,
Yes.
the amount of spellings I see of Bonjour Creole, as a member of KEK, I get confused, and I should know the correct spelling of Bonjour Creole, which for our non-Creole speaking audience, it means Happy Creole Day.
Yeah.
So we have our work cut out for us, but I think we are making important strides in the right direction in terms of embracing the technology, in terms of embracing the opportunities that are out there to advance the language. So Magali, over to you, and then we're going to dive into the book. So guys on the live, stay tuned. We're going to show you the book in just a minute.
Indeed. Well, Ray and Charlene and Miss Akpa, they've already set the tone, and I quite concur with all what they've said, because as Mrs. Akpa said, it's all about standardization. You see different spellings, you see accents going in different directions, so KEK is really doing a great job at trying to standardize the writing system for the Creole language, so that whenever it is used on the media, in the news, on newspapers, on flyers, whatever, wherever it is used, it is standardized across and everybody knows how it is used appropriately. And I must commend the work of KEK over those 40 years. I mean, I've been a member for maybe about 10 years, and I can see the amount of effort that has been going into this, because we are really trying to make the language more visible in Dominica. We want to make the presence of the Creole language more felt. But it's a lot of work still to be done, and it's a work in progress, really and truly.
Yeah, and we really have to get to the book, but Raymond, I have to come back to you, because I think we kind of skimmed over the language policy, but I think that will play a major role in everything that we're trying to do with KEK. So just tell us what is the purpose of a language policy? What are we hoping to accomplish with a language policy? You're muted.
Muted.
Upakatanu. I'm practicing Jarozo.
So, well, Dominica we have a cultural policy, and then that was approved in 2007 by cabinet. And one of the segments of that policy, of course, deals with language. And as we all know, all Dominicans, we not only speak Creole, we speak English. First of all, we speak Kalinago, we speak Kokoi, and then we also have the Creole. And then some people are even referring to Dominican English as well, as a sort of a language, so to speak, like itself. But the Creole language policy now will give sort of more focus to the Creole language itself, because when we were thinking of developing the policy for the language, we said we want to focus, well, KEK, because KEK's mandate is for ready for the Creole language, that we are focusing more on that language of Dominica. Okay, so it's not the English, it's not the other languages. But when you have a policy, and especially when a government approves a policy, it is in fact taking on the responsibility of saying, okay, we are going to try to implement what is in that policy. So we define what we want to do, and the definition comes from KEK, yes, but we also have to be discussing it with stakeholders. So we're right in that process now, Simon, where we are discussing it with a number of stakeholders. We already had a stakeholders meeting earlier this year, but the next one we want to have is a much wider stakeholder meeting with representatives from schools, churches, you name it, various institutions, so that the policy is representative of the opinions and views and ideas of a wide, very, very wide cross section of the Dominican population. But it puts down in a concrete fashion, in an orderly fashion, in under various segments, various headings, what we really would like to achieve with the language and how we want it to grow, how we want it to develop, what directions we want it to go in. So, in a sense, it's not just talking about it, but really defining what it is we want to do, and then now deciding to implement, because it's not the policy and agreeing to the policy. We now have to begin to implement aspects of it. I would say, however, that already the work of KEK is implementing a lot of what the policy is defining. And so already the work is not that the work hasn't been done, or, it has been done, or is being done, but it's just that you want to give it a sort of a wider framework to take in, maybe aspects that KEK really because, KEK is limited in terms of membership, in terms of funding, resources, I mean, you name it. I wouldn't want to go into the details and the other members, but there's so many things we would like to do, Simon, but for instance, we don't have the funds necessarily to do. So we have to think, where can we get the money to do this? Where can we? So, I mean, while I'm talking on this program, if anybody is listening and they feel they can, help KEK, make a contribution or something to our work, we'd be very, very grateful, because that would give us an impetus, a greater strength to help to actually implement now the various ideas that we have. But I think the policy now will provide that sort of grounding, and give a greater sense of direction and guidance for everybody, not just KEK alone, but government would realize and know what the policy is about, all educational institutions, the private sector, KEK, the general public at large. So everybody is moving in the same direction and trying to achieve the same goals, because here it is that we have actually defined a Creole policy and the goals that we'd like to achieve.
Right. So we're talking about things like different signage and ensuring that the Creole is spoken in like the banks and the hotels and various institutions. So that covers the policy. And again, if you want to support the work that we're doing here at KEK, what a great opportunity by purchasing a copy of the book. And everybody, most people I know have Amazon accounts. So it's simply a matter, and I'm going to share the screen in a little while to show you how easy it is to get a copy of the book. But it's as simple as going on Amazon and getting a copy of the book and making a meaningful contribution to KEK by supporting our efforts to preserve and advance our Creole language, our heritage, our culture in Dominica. But I think it's time to dive into the book. So who has a copy of the book so we can take a look and see what it looks like? So we will go with Magali, because I can see it best. Oh, we all have a copy. Where's my copy? Where's my copy? I better get my copy on Amazon real quick. I've been so busy putting it on Amazon that I forgot to get my own copy from Amazon. And also just to let the audience know that the paperback version is now available, but we will also have the e-version. So I'm currently working on getting the e-copy of the book available on Amazon as well. So we will have that available for you. For those of you who like to read on your phones, your tablets, your computers, you will also be able to get a copy of the e-version of the book. So Magali, let's see your copy and kind of just show us a couple of pages. You can open it, show us the table of contents, how beautifully it's laid out, and we can start talking about, how did we decide what would go in the book? How did we decide what format the book would take? So kind of just tell us what we can expect if we get a copy of this book. So I will leave it to the authors to let us know about the format. I think, let me zoom in on you, Magali, for 1 second so we can actually see you a little bit better. So of course, that's the introduction with our president, Mr. Raymond Lawrence. So go ahead, Magali, let's see some more. Show us one of the modules
Okay.
included so we know what we're getting. Because I saw some beautifully laid out pictures. So this one is what? Tell us what.
Module zero. That really sets the tone. It gives a brief background on the Creole language, and it spells out the pronunciation guide and everything to help the learner as they go along. So really and truly, this guide, it is very easy to follow, very student friendly, and it will guide the teaching and learning as you move from one module to the next. We use the communicative approach. So it's a lot of dialogues and role play and short stories and a lot of exercises. So the learner will be very, very actively engaged as they go through this text. It is packed with photographs and illustrations, and we give a lot of examples and practice exercises. And there's that section called Me Dominic Nu, which introduces our culture, our heritage. It highlights different aspects, our clothing, our food, our way of life generally. So it focuses a lot on oral and the written forms of Creole. And there are about 17 chapters, 17 modules. It's really fun, really fun. Just grab your copy and dig right into it. We look at different topics. So we look at it's it's it has a thematic approach. So we are looking at in the classroom, friends, making friends, the family setting. We have colors and numbers, parts of the body. It's just a whole range, really and truly. If you want to just start learning the language from scratch, this is the book for you. This is the book that you need to get a comprehensive idea of what the Creole language is about, what our culture and heritage looks like. Pour moun ki pa Jean Dominique, ou bien moun ki kite Dominique pour tellement longtemps, eh ben yo pa ka changer sa yo kite derrière. Livre là, ça ke mene tout bitin en laisse pour yon encore. Il ke fait ou changer pour sa viwe vini enjoy sa ou kite derrière. Pour ça, ou ramase prends un livre, allez à ces Amazon, cliquez à ce link là. Si vous voulez faire ça pour faire, eh bien, pour comprendre, pour ça, langue nous tous, nous pour connaître bien.
Yes, thank you. Very well done, Magali. And I want our two other authors to chime in as well in terms of the book. But what I went ahead and did, guys, is I pinned a copy of the link to the book. So if you look at the comments that I pinned on Facebook and YouTube, it includes the link to the book. So all you have to do is click on the link and it will take you directly to the book. And towards the end of the program, I will give you another option for getting the book. But I just wanted to hear from Sonia and Charlene about the book as well. Any thoughts you would like to share at this point?
Ok, sa mwen te ke vle di osi, ini otan domniche ki ka wete lot peyi, ki ta pale kweyol, epi yo vle zanfan yo pale kweyol. Sa se yon bon liv pou servi pou apwan zanfan kweyol, lang kweyol la. Ok? Comme Magali te ka di, il y a autant différents sujets, il y a autant de bagailles contre Kilti Dominique, il y a une page avec Powerball, qu'on chien pas qu'à faire chat, fait anti c'est une mauvaise maladie, Guamoun, c'est Wimed, toutes ces bagailles ça là, Guamama nous, Guapapa nous te ka di nous mettez yon petit deux trois Powerball en dans livre là. Il y a autant Powell, Kweyol, moun ka servi, nous mettez en dans livre là aussi. Bagay kon, bagay show, Bakoban, Felidew, Kite Mè Chanchil, c'est bagay ça là nous ka servi tous les jours. Nous mettez des toits en livre là. Comme ça, c'est un livre qui bien facile, qui bien intéressant, qui cap présenter bien, il y a autant portrait, il y a autant exercice, moun sa servi. So I think it is a really great learning and teaching tool. And I really encourage everyone to grab a copy. For also, il y a moun qui sa parle kweyol, yo ka parle bien, mais yo pas sa ekwi kweyol. Nous ka montre zo comment pour écrire langue créole là. Nous ini alphabet là d'ail, nous ka ba autant exemple et puis si vous regardez bien, il pas wed. Il bien facile pour écrire créole. So again, I urge those even people who are fluent in Creole but who are not able to write it. This is a very good book. It explains the writing system in detail, gives examples. And I always say, people tend to get a little confused with the accents. But once you know the accents, the great thing about the Creole writing system, one sound, one symbol. So if you see E with an acute accent, it is a sound A and it is always A. If you see an A in Creole, it is the sound A, it is always A. It's not like English where you have A and you say apple, able, attend, and all of those. No. A is A. E acute is E. E with the grave is A. Once you have that, then there is no confusion whatsoever. So that is something that I really wanted to.
Yes, ebe aussi ini moun kom mwen nou kone pale Creole la ou sav, men nou ped paske nou kwe si nou eseye pale Creole, ebe nou pa fè li bien. Moun ke di me se me mamzel pa ka pale Creole, sa y ka fè la non, men moun ni pou ale pase sa. Because we have to practice. It's because many of us do not practice. You will hear a lot of Dominicans say, I understand Creole, but I don't speak Creole. And I tell them all the time, yes, you speak Creole. If you understand Creole, you can speak Creole. You are afraid to speak Creole because you're afraid you might embarrass yourself. But once you get over that fear of embarrassing yourself and you decide, well, you know what, I'm a student of Creole, so I'm just going to practice, it comes naturally. You will learn to speak the language more fluently. And while we're on here, let me just say a very special thank you to Noreen Joseph and Alex Powell Bruno, because they actually taught me to speak Creole on Facebook Live.
Wow.
You know, the things we came up with during the pandemic to occupy our time. So during the pandemic, I thought, well, why not? We all have all this time on our hand. Why not learn something new? So I
Yeah.
really want to thank Noreen Joseph. We all know her, and Alex Bruno, because they were the ones who taught me to speak Creole during the pandemic. So Charlene, let me come over to you. Any thoughts on the book?
Yes, I just wanted to say, Ada Livla your mini dictionary.
Hmm.
Okay, so for persons who, who want a mini dictionary, there is also a mini dictionary at the back of the book. So yes, we are waiting for the big dictionary, but there is a mini one that can be used by any learner. So apart from just giving you exercises and giving you information on Dominica, we have included a mini glossary, a mini dictionary. So that we think will assist a lot of our speakers, for those who are searching for words, certain words to express themselves in the language. They could actually use that mini dictionary to do so. Um, I also wanted to mention that the book really and truly, it's so alive, because in there we have quite a bit of information. We have some paintings, we have some photographs from Arlington. Arlington is a well-known photographer, well-known member of KEK in Dominica. We have paintings of Aaron Hamilton. So we have tried not only to put in photographs that we have found, from our photographer, Jordan Jerome, who's our main photographer, but we have also, engaged our artists, like Allington, like Aaron Hamilton, and I wanted to mention in a very special way that the cover of our book, Anu Apan Kweyol, was actually designed by Jerome GK 767.
Mm.
It was actually designed by him. The layout and so was actually put together after we designed everything by Marita Hyacinth. So we actually used a lot of resource persons here in Dominica, not only members of KEK, but other people contributed to that book. And we just want to say thank you so much to them for giving us their skill and their time.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I've done now is I pulled up the book on Amazon so we can get a better view, and you can place your order. So if you are familiar with Amazon, all you have to do is start typing ANNOU, and it should pull up the title of the book, Anu Upon Creole. So I want to keep this screen up for just a little bit while I go ahead and see the comments on Facebook and acknowledge everyone who is joining us via Facebook. Our friend in Louisiana, David, says, good evening. I see Anthony Simon. And guys, if you're not posting a comment, chances are I may not see you. So if you want to be acknowledged, you can just post a quick comment, just saying good evening, so I can acknowledge your presence on the Facebook Live. So Anthony Simon, Tina Bell de Ramon, somebody who is very supportive, who used to be a regular member on Sase Nu back when we had that program. Let's see who else is joining us this evening. We said Davidson Lloyd. David in Louisiana says, we work together to keep the Creole language because there are some out there that want to get, I think he wants to say get rid of it. In Louisiana, from very young, they had those people from other places in Louisiana wanting to make Louisiana only English. So during the time of growing, there was a time in Louisiana, it was against the law to speak French, uh, the Grenada Creole. So, David, thank you for sharing that. And I think that we can relate because although Creole in Dominica was never against the law, it was frowned upon, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was frowned
Yes.
upon,
Yeah.
and many of
Yeah.
our grandparents told our parents to not speak Creole. There was even an argument that if our children spoke Creole, they would not be able to learn English, which we know is absolutely incorrect. As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, knowing a second language enhances your ability to know your own language. So that was completely wrong on their part. So there were many misconceptions that we've had to get over, but we are thankful that now we're in the right direction with regards to Creole. David Joseph, always great to see you. He says, well, I grew up in Roseau and learned to speak Creole because my grandmother spoke Creole to me and my brothers. Louisa Jean Pierre, all the way out there in the UK. Thank you for staying up late to be with us. She says, I'll be ordering my copy. Thank you for that, Louisa. Tina says, I'm one of those who can speak comfortably enough, but I spell according to song. I think most people do, Tina, so we need to standardize that. Smiley symptom, we need to add it to our school's curriculum. Hey, Delia, My Coffee Weeks is here with us. Tina, the Belle de Ramon, that is fine. You just need to learn the alphabet now. Pamela Gist says, great work, guys. Congratulations. Every home needs a copy for Christmas. And Delia says, bonsoir tout le monde, bon travail. Delia, you see, I can read the Creole. I know I struggle when I'm in the meetings and we're in the WhatsApp groups. It's kind of tough for me because I'm still learning. But of course, we just have to keep trying. So, any comments, guys, based on the comments posted in Facebook?
Well, I mean, it's encouraging,
Yes,
it's
it is.
encouraging. I'm really happy, mwen kontan tout bonnement. Moun ka koute nou, moun ka sipote nou, moun la eve nou, et puis yo eme travail la, nou fe, kosa mwen vle di tout moun merci encore. Merci tout Mam KEK, merci Charline et Magali pour tout travail la nou fe. Raymond, et puis merci Simone. Puis si c'est pas nous pas ni livre ça là sur Amazon, ça c'est vraiment un bon bagaille pour KEK. Comme ça, merci en pile Simone. Et puis moi voulais dire Norine et puis Alex, ils ont fait un bon travail, hein? Puis vous parlez bien.
Hey, merci.
Bien.
Eh bien, bien, merci pour ça. Thank you for that. But the other thing we have to keep in mind as we wind down the program this evening is we're going to take this beyond just the publication of the book, because again, we have to keep evolving and we have to keep grabbing new opportunities to get our Creole out there. So one of the things, Delbert Harry, one of our Creole speaking participants from Sasenu, great to see you. So one of the things we've been talking about doing with KEK is to also engage our audience regularly in the same way that we're doing this evening with Creole Conversations. And we have those who teach the language, Sonia, Delia, and we have somebody all the way in France, Lena, who will be our guide in terms of coming on the Facebook Live, engaging our audience, teaching a couple of different elements of the language, and just having conversations, because I think that is the next step. I think we've been doing an excellent job with the Mo Creole on DBS Radio, but I think at this point, and you guys can let me know your thoughts about this, the next step for us will be to have those Creole conversations on topics of interest. And I think we've already spoken to Lena. Raymond, correct me if I'm wrong. And that is the direction that we're looking to go to continuous, because this has to be a continuation. It cannot just be buy the book and teach yourself the language.
No.
Yeah.
Right? So your thoughts?
Yeah.
I totally agree, Simone. I think, in a sense, KEK has laid down, a certain level of foundational activities, and now we need to expand on everything that has been done. And then, Simone, you're going to play a a critical role in that the Creole conversations could continue on a program
Yes.
like this, on platforms like this.
Mhm.
And the more of those kinds of programs that we have is the greater that the language can be promoted and preserved. So I totally agree. Also that it's encouraging, as Sonia said, to hear the comments that everybody is not just KEK alone, but everybody can play a role.
Mhm.
So even by starting by teaching yourself the Creole is already helping to strengthen the Creole. And young people taking up the book and, purchasing the book and trying to learn the Creole language and to speak it a little more. Everybody should be playing a role in helping to strengthen and promote and preserve the language. The media, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Culture, the government as a whole, private sector can have signs in their offices. Some of their things can be translated into Creole, some of their little signs in their offices. And so lots of different things can be done by different people. So we now have to take a much wider view now of expanding and promoting and preserving. And everybody should realize that they can play a role in helping to promote the language.
Yes, thank you. And let's just go around the room for your final thoughts as we wind down the program. And again, I want to thank everyone who joined us via Facebook Live. What does Delbert say? Let's see if I can read this Creole that Delbert has posted. Le ou ni livre numérique, dis-moi. When we have a numbers book, does anyone know what he's referring to? When we have a book of numbers? Delbert, so
Numeric,
No.
a
We
digital,
have the digital copy, the digital copy.
Ah, the digital.
Yes.
Okay, so that's how we say it. That's how we say it. So you see, I just learned something new. Le uni leave numeric dimwe, the digital copy. So
Digital
numeric is
copy.
digital.
And
Ah,
Simon, that's
so,
interesting because it's in the making. We have already having discussions about that, including audio and video, making it more interactive because the young people, they have their tablets, they have their devices in their hands, so they may not necessarily want to turn to a textbook per se, but if we can reach them digitally, then that is what we are heading into. So it's a lot of work to be done still, and as we say, the field is wide, laborers are few,
Mhm.
and we are all engaged in our own jobs, and so it's very, very tedious, very tasking, but for love of country, for love of the language, we really want to see it being preserved, and so we devote time to it.
yes,
So
and David in Louisiana is already looking forward to our online program so he can continue to learn. And Louisa out in the UK. You see, I told you guys we reach a worldwide audience. She says we have a project in the Dominica Association in Bradford, UK, learning Creole. I'll recommend it to the group. So again, as we were just saying, everybody has a role to play, right? So let us go around the room and you can just give your final thoughts as we wind down the program this evening. And again, thank you, members of KEK, for being here to help us to officially launch our new our publication, the first publication available online, Anu Apon Creole. So your final thoughts as we wind down. Raymond, let's start with you.
Yes, well, I just first of all want to thank you, Simone, for inviting KEK onto the program. Really sort of underscoring the importance of a publication like Anua Point Creole. I want to thank the authors again, Sonia Akpa, Charlene White Christian, Maggie Celestine. Thank our funding agency, the French Embassy in St. Lucia. And I thank God that this has actually happened, has become a reality, and that people can now access online and Amazon to get copies of the book. And that, in a sense, is really taking the Creole language to another level, I think, to a more global level now, and which is very encouraging. And to say that it's not just Dominica that speaks Creole, and we have many millions of people in the world who speak Creole.
Yep.
So that
Yeah.
strengthens our communication as well with countries like Guadeloupe, Martinique, St. Lucia, Haiti. I mean, you name it, Seychelles, and strengthens the language in other forms, like in music. Creole has played such a big role in Kadas music, in Dominican folk music, on the radio, as Sonia mentioned, so many different programs and news, and as I mentioned, with communication with other countries, Creole-speaking countries in the world. So we just want everybody to play a role and realize that everybody has to play a role in helping to promote this. And anybody who can give us the kind of support that we need, we would also welcome that kind of support as well. That is KEK in Dominica.
Yes, and just go ahead and share the email address for KEK, Raymond, in case anyone wants to reach out to us.
So Charlene, you have the
Email address for KEK?
email address.
It's committeepoetwithcreole@gmail.com. So we would have to write that for them.
Okay, so I think it might be easier to just email pushpast10@gmail.com because that's a long spelling. Yes, so since I'm a member of KEK, if anyone is interested in reaching us, pushpast10@gmail.com, pushpast10@gmail.com, and I will be more than happy to relay the message to our members of KEK. Sonia, your final thoughts?
Bon, ça m'a te qu'elle dit, bonsoir encore tout le monde. Simone, merci en pile. Ça c'est un moment qui est bien important pour KEK. Nous n'ayons un livre à sur Amazon.
Oui.
Comme ça, moi remercier tous ces gens-là qui travaillent à sur le livre ça là. Et puis, ça m'a te qu'elle quitter tout le monde avec, à nous apprendre créole. Merci.
D'accord. Charlene, final thoughts.
Well, yes, I just want to say thank you so much for having us on, Simone. And it's the first of many to come.
Yes.
And we are just hoping that people will appreciate, what we've done with this book. And feel free to even give us your comments if you have any suggestions, because we are hoping to have a volume 2, a follow-up for more advanced learners. We don't just want to stop at this publication. We want to do a second volume. So we are hoping that people could feel free, to reach out to us, give us comments, give us suggestions as to what you would like to see in the next volume, and we can take it from there. But once again, we just want to say thanks to all those who contributed in one way or the other to this publication. We have quite a few persons who contributed, whether it's through photographs, whether it's through just giving ideas, all the members of KEK, all the photographers, all the groups who shared their photos, like the Africulture Stilt Workers, who allowed us to use their photographs, people like Aileen Burton, and, quite a few people allowed us to use their work, and their photographs. Pearl, Christian, we just want to say thank you so much to all of those people, because without you, this publication would not be possible. So
Yes.
thank you so much.
Yes, and speaking of photos, one of the things we would really appreciate is, as David in Louisiana did, once you get your copy of the book, please email us a picture of you holding the book, because that will go a long way in helping us with our promotion efforts. So we already have our first photo. David in Louisiana, again, thank you for sending us that photo. So again, pushpast10@gmail.com. Send us a copy of yourself holding the book, hopefully with a nice big smile. So we can use it as an opportunity to promote our book and to give recognition and support. Magali, your final thoughts?
Yes, Simone, thank you so much for having us here tonight. Thank you so much for putting us online with this text. It goes a very long way. It is very meaningful for KEK and the wider community, Dominica on the whole. We are now on the map, ready in terms of our language. And we know that St. Lucia and Martinique and Guadeloupe, they are also promoting the Creole language, but Dominica is now on par, and we are so thankful for that. We want to encourage all of those who are on hearing us tonight to continue to share the message among your groups, your peers, your friends, pass the word along, share the link,
Share the live.
share the live so that others can also get their copy and
Yeah.
that we can all continue to cherish that rich language and have it being passed on from generation to generation.
Yes, thank you for that. And of course, we're looking for more media exposure. So, DBS, Kyrie, Vibes, we're locked into Q95. So I know we will do well there as well. But more opportunities to be on the media to get this message out. And what I've started doing as well, which will be my final point before we leave this evening, is I started creating a repository so that we have one place where we can get copies of our books. So as you can see, the basic guide to Creole, Anu Upon Creole, is showing right now. We also have a book that was just published by Alex Bruno. We have one that was published by Dr. Margaret Wallace, I just saw on the Facebook Live earlier. So again, Push Past 10 is where you want to go to get your copies of the different books that we are offering in Dominica, because it is so important that we continue to share our literary works. And one of the books you will always also see talking about evolving is our Dominica in Puzzle book, because we have to find new ways to promote our culture. We have to find new ways to share about Dominica. So again, you can get a copy of all the books that I'm mentioning by simply logging on to pushpast10.com so that you too can get copies of the books that we are mentioning, because we have to continue to promote our culture. We have to continue to evolve. We have to continue to advance. So again, I want to thank the members of KEK who joined us this evening. Mr. Raymond Lawrence, thank you for being here. The authors of Anu Upon Creole, Mrs. Sonia Maglo Akpa, Mrs. Charlene White Christian, as well as Miss Magali Celestine. Thank you for being here. Guys, don't forget to share this program. Don't forget to follow Push Past 10 as we continue to advance our people. We continue to work for the development of our people at home and abroad. And we continue to share our beautiful culture, our beautiful islands with the rest of the world. So with that, again, I am Simone Matthew. It's always a pleasure to be here with you. And I look forward to joining you the next time. So guys, thank you for being here. Have a good night. And
Yes.
we shall see
Thanks,
each other
Simone.
on
Thank
the,
you, Simon. Thank
Thank
you very
you.
much.
Campbell.
we'll see each
Merci en
other
pile.
on
And
the
thank you
WhatsApp
for
Bonsoir
our
chat.
tout le monde.
viewers, all those who viewed. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
so we're, so we're heading
Merci.
back to the WhatsApp chat to chat.
Yes.
All right, have a good night.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
Merry
merci.
Christmas,
Bonsoir
Thank
happy
tout le monde.
you.
holidays, everybody.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
And
bye.
bye.
Alison Peltier said, great gift wraps for Christmas. My daughter has one wrapped. So get a
Wow.
copy for yourself and get a copy as a Christmas gift. Amazon has one day delivery. We still have time. So get a copy. Christmas is not until Monday. Get a copy for yourself and a copy for a friend, a family member, or two. Have a good night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Take care.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.
Uh-huh.
Bye.
To our members of KEK.